check bottom of your laptop, you will see a globe icon. Just click on that. It will display languages you can select from. Once you click on the language of your preferred language, it will automatically take
Hi,
you
Ishmael. Sorry,
to
Ishmael. Sorry, excuse me, Ishmael. We can't hear you quite well. The interpreter is having a problem. You have to come closer to the microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now? Am I audible?
Not enough yet.
Amy, you can put the slide up and then I can pick that up.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody. It is session 3. So far things are running pretty quickly, but session 3 is here. So for your preferred choice of translation and interpretation, kindly select the globe icon you see on your screen. If you are using phone, you would see 3 dots down, as you can see, as displayed on the screen, and then you can select your preferred choice of language. This meeting is being recorded in English and then in French. So kindly select your preferred choice of language so that you can fully participate in the meeting. Thank you very much. Welcome once again. And then I would hand over to Messin to take us through the icebreaker session. Thank you. Messin, are you with us?
Hi, Sylvester.
Je pense, Sylvestre, tu peux continuer si Messin n'est pas là.
Sylvester, it seems that Mesa has not arrived yet. You could maybe go on.
Okay.
With somebody else.
Okay. Thank you very much. So for the icebreaker, I hope you can hear me loud and clear. So for the icebreaker, the question that we will want to ask participants is, what would you tell your 16-year-old dear self? So for example, if you had to go back in time, and then when you were 16-year-old, what would you tell yourself? Kindly put your responses in the chat, and then we would read that response. But for me, thinking about what I would tell my 16-year-old self, I think I would have told my 16-year-old self not to give up and keep fighting, because in this work that we find ourselves, you can see that over the period, you would have to always continue to fight the injustices that surround us. So on that note, I would have told my 16-year-old self to never give up and keep fighting. So kindly put your responses in the chat, and I will call on Amy to read some of the responses we have so far, both Francophone and then Anglophone. So Amy, please, if you can hear me, kindly take it up. Amy, can you hear me?
Oui, je t'entendais très bien.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, Sylvester. Thank you.
So Amy, I was saying, great. I was saying if you can put up, read the responses in the chat, both the Francophone and then Anglophone. So the question that we are asking ourselves is, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? So if you are supposed to go back in time 16 years ago, what would you tell yourself? So please, let's share our responses in the chat, and Amy would help us with reading.
Ça va?
Hello? Hello, Sylvester?
Hello, Sylvester.
Hi,
This
Messan.
is Messan.
J'aimerais savoir si je peux intervenir.
I wanted to know if I could take the floor or shall I wait some minutes?
So you can take the floor and read the comments we have in the chat, but I've already started with the icebreaker as to what you tell your 16-year-old self. So you can tell us what you would have told yourself and then read the comments in the chat, especially the Francophone comments. Thank you.
D'accord, merci beaucoup. Nous avons
Thank you very much. We have Lugendo from the RDC. Lugendo says, I would say to myself with 16 years old that we have to keep on fighting for life and against injustices. I think this is the only answer we do have in the chat in French for the moment. We do invite all participants to write in the chat to answer and share their answer.
So I have a comment in the chat from Abubakar. He said that I would tell my 16-year-old self to always stand up for my rights and fight injustice. Sheila from Sheila too says, don't worry too much about what others think. Focus on building relationships with people who uplift and support. The only person you have control over is yourself. Nothing worth comes easy. That is what Sheila would have said to her 16-year-old self. So maybe we can, if Messa, you have other messages in French, you can read that out and then we'll continue from there. I think there's one from Batma Yaro, so you can read that in French.
Nous avons Sadouba qui dit
Yes, thank you. We do have Sadouba who says he would have liked to defend the environment sooner. Messan, we also have Biaro who says, I would tell to diminish this foolish age and listen to the elders, the educators and parents, because life is grounded on experience. Life is a day-to-day obligation, says Léonce. Another participant says would have to defend the environment much sooner in my life. So these are the French-speaking contributions. We also have Ivan. I would tell him that life is life is a fight and it asks a lot of discipline and also going on fighting for their rights and injustice. I will now give the floor to Sylvester for the English-speaking comments.
Thank you very much, Amy. Let me scan through. So we have Joshua Uba Esquire saying, I would have, oh, what's going on? Sorry. Yeah, Joshua said, I would have told my 16-year-old self never to be moved by peer pressure. And then Abdul Yahaya Kamara says, I would tell my 16-year-old self that I have dreams. I will strive harder to achieving those goals in terms of bringing positive change in my community. Let me scan through again. I would tell my 16-year-old self that if you want to see change, remember you are the change to your world outside. That is what I have from, okay, this device is not named, so we'll take it. Gender justice is saying embrace your uniqueness and don't try to fit in with the crowd. Believe in yourself and your abilities. You are capable of achieving great things. Don't worry so much about what others think. Focus on your own path and goals. Take more risk and step out of your comfort zone. It is where the magic happens. Be kind to yourself and others. You never know what someone might be going through. Enjoy the journey and don't rush into adulthood. Your teenage years are special time. Learn from your mistakes. They are valuable lessons from growth and success. That is a whole process, you know. So I'll end it here and ask Amy if she has any other comment within the Francophones, then we can move on from there. So Amy, if you have any other comment, you can read that.
Ok, ok, voilà. Il y
Oh,
a...
yes, Sylvester. We have from Benin, I know this participant, he says to go out of the box and know that change begins by oneself, to know oneself and knowing one's rights and how to defend them at the right moment. We also have the fight against injustice might be an everyday struggle to be able to touch everybody because it's a struggle of everybody for everybody. We also have back home that says that the world is full of injustice, but with a very, very hard work and a lot of resilience, we can reach a fairer world. So these are the French-speaking contribution. I think that we can go on with our session now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy, and thank you everyone for the comments and inspirations that you have shared about what you would have told your 16-year-old self. We have come to a point where now we are going to talk briefly about what we know so far. So basically, we want to do a quick recap of what we know so far and then see where we are going from here. So this is what we've studied so far. So of course, from our discussions in session 1, we've established that power manifests in different injustices. And these injustices are the injustices I am working on in Ghana, you are working on in Nairobi, you are working on...
Bantumela ama lona ama in lama
Sorry for the interactions.
Bonjour.
Yeah. Ooh.
Bonjour.
Please, if you are just joining us, kindly mute your microphone. If you join us, kindly mute your microphone. We are already in session, so that you don't disrupt the meetings. Thank you very much. Yes, so we're talking about what we've learned so far and the fact that the injustices that we are actually working on, power manifest in these injustices, and it is being supported by either someone or something, because of course the injustices cannot stand alone. So Ishmael and please, my colleagues, kindly assist me with muting people who joined the call and their microphones are on. Thank you very much. Of course, yeah. So now we also talk about the fact that institutions themselves also disrupt what we call power. If you look at judiciary, the police, the politicians, private sector, local chiefs or traditional rulers, depending on the context you are coming from, you would know that these are the pillars that sometimes uphold like power in our context and how we intend to work around these pillars. Now, of course, we have also used the power analysis to see how power manifests in these injustices that we are fighting. And we have several discussions that people have actually shared in terms of the breakout rooms and the discussions in the session. Also, there are certain enablers within the communities that we have come to understand that indeed they support the injustice in the form of they kind of bolster this injustice that we build power here. So basically, these enablers we are talking about, depending on where you are coming from, can be ethnicity, can be fear, can be apathy, can be poverty, can be patriarchy, depending on where you are coming from. These also play a role in enablers of power dynamism that we have already talked about. But then we ask ourselves, when we talk about fear, when we talk about ignorance, Amy, please, can I have the next slide, please? Yes. Then the question that we asked ourselves was, what keeps us from building power? We asked participants these questions, both in the chat, in the WhatsApp groups, and then on the call. And these were the comments that we got from the discussion. People were of the opinion that, yes, the community is very active, but government and local authorities are not responsive. The second thing people talk about was the fact that the community understand the issues. They understand the issues they are facing. However, they do not come together to address the issues. And I'm sure today, when Amy and Morgan and Cole dive deep into the discussion, you would come to know about coming together to identify the issues and not like solving the problem for the community, but working together with the community. The third thing we recognize from the discussions was the fact that communities believe that NGOs, you and I, we have money. So once we approach them to help them solve a problem, we are coming with money. That is another thing that keeps us from the discussions that we've had so far from building power. Again, maintaining community engagement over long term is another thing that also keeps us from building power. And the final thing that we had was how to work around the unsupportive elders, the local chiefs, the traditional rulers. Some of them, patriarchy and the rest, they are deep rooted in it. So it becomes difficult to work around issues with them. These are the things that comes up at the top of the things that help us or prevent us to build power. Then we came to the strategies and then the tactics that we have employed that we think can help us build power. And we talked about community education. We talked about casework. We talked about grassroots leadership. And we talked about collective actions. These were the things that I remember Morgan and Amy touched on and talked about the fact that they are the things or the strategies or the tactics that we can use in our quest for building power. Amy, next slide, please. Yes. So now these things become the pillars that we rely on to build power. So as you can see from the triangle, we have the community, and then the pillars of building power is surrounded by the triangle, like we've already talked about: community education, casework, grassroots leadership, and collective actions. These are key strategies and ingredients that we need as individuals, which we have talked about from our respective organization and even in our breakout rooms to discuss how we build power. Then again, we came to you and asked you, what is our vision of community power? Again, we had several responses from the participants, and we selected few from them. So if you see, the first person was Saulo from Senegal. He said that power is about basically access and control of resources. That is a context that Saulo was speaking from. Then again, Danny from DRC also said that the pressure a community can bring to bear on decision makers to find the solution. Again, you are seeing that Danny is also talking about the context that with which he finds himself. Then the final person that we picked from was Peter from Nigeria. He said that it is the ability of communities to make choices and certain decisions by themselves, for themselves, without imposition of external bodies. And I know that, again, Peter was also talking from his context and what he has come to experience in terms of community power. But also, we also shared our version of what we think community power is. And we said that it is the act of coming together. So we are acting together for greater influence, to have a say and control in the issues that we are working around or we are working on. The next thing was that we were saying that the power being built is to counter bad laws and bad actors. So it is not like we are working out of vacuum. However, we are working to ensure that certain loopholes are filled in the process of our work, so that we have a holistic approach to solving these issues or injustices that we are fighting on. The final bit that we talked about was the fact that we're building solidarity and unity with others who face the same injustice or care about the same cause. That is why you and I have signed on to this course, because I am sitting in West Africa, Ghana, and then we have people from Mozambique, Uganda, Nigeria, South Africa, all over Africa who have signed on this course, because we want to build solidarity and unity with all others who are facing these issues. Then we can peer learn from each other. So this is so far where we have gotten to. So having taken you through these, what we've done so far, I would now hand over to my colleague Amy to continue from where we are pushing the ship. So Amy, over to you.
Merci, merci beaucoup, Sylvestre. Bon.
Thank you very much, Sylvester. Another vision of community power, I'm going to share with you. We in Namati, we work very strong on this aspect of Justice Network. We can also obviously work on this strategy for pursuing justice that is working. The goal is that this process of justice empowerment helps the community to have the possibility to solve justice problems effectively. Also, we start with the knowledge of the law. That's the reason why we insist on this knowledge, because a lot of people don't know and don't understand the law. So because of the language, and very often the law is not accessible to people. So that's why we want to give them the ability and the means to be able to achieve that better knowledge of the law. That's why, for example, the lawyer is not somebody who is going to help you to understand the law, but the paralegal, yes, will help you to understand the law. So they will give you, the paralegal people will give you a practical knowledge of the law and will put the power in the law, the power of the law in people's hands. And that is why we will be able to democratize the law. That's how we will achieve to have to use the power of the law, and that will help us to democratize the law, so that we can use them to access the law. The law is really for everybody, according to their needs. So this is a work of legal empowerment work. We have paralegal, we have activists, we have you. We do this work of giving empowerment to people and to the communities. That's why paralegal is a member of a community. They are based in the community, so they are easy to locate, and they are trained in basic law for like mediation, organization, etc., and the advocacy as well. And that's why we can help them. They can help people in the community. They can use different strategies, creative strategies, to pressure justice from a broken system, and also use the paralegal power, so that they can choose, get some practical solutions in all the places. That's the magic of the paralegals, of the communitarian paralegals. We start by asking to the community, what do they need as a solution? Very often, the solution is within the community. So we need to understand what is the strategy to be followed. Then we need to understand the power of the people and the power also of the law, and understanding the law itself. Here as well, we see how a paralegal can operate and what he says. The idea of solidarity, to acknowledge our own voice, our own community voice. Instead of saying, I am going to solve this problem for you, he will say, we will solve this problem together, and when we finish, you'll be in a stronger position to tackle problems like this in the future. For me, maybe it's not very easy to explain, but it's my opinion that I wanted to share. In my opinion, the paralegal support and the empowerment, the legal empowerment, are things very different. Two things. We can obtain justice using both, but a strategy can be empower you and sustain you and take into account the power of the resources and also the contribution of the community. But the other strategy is the knowledge of the lawyers. Simply, the knowledge of the lawyer is a very different thing. And another thing is the power of the community and their knowledge of the law. Each state is in a process of decision making, and they exchange ideas. So we're going to talk now about what are the three pillars of the paralegal assessment. We have the knowledge of the law, the awareness or the knowledge of the law. We need to know whether we have to react or we don't have to react. Who is going to help us? The knowledge of the law opens our eyes and allows us to take decisions on who can help us. It means to plant really the seeds for somebody to be able to feel that he's able to do something. It takes a lot of time. It's not an easy thing to obtain. You can have a series of sessions of awareness and not necessarily know what to do. So that's why you need to start with the knowledge of the law in order to fight against the injustices. That's how we can also encourage people to work on the solidarity, as Sylvester has mentioned already in this course. That's why the way we do the education, the community education, is very, very important. We do it in an empowering manner. If you can read the article that we have on the popular education, it will be very helpful for you. We're going to talk now about how to use the law, how you can use the law with the community, and you need to explore whether you can use the existing laws or to solve problems. In the process, the community starts to learn and deepen its knowledge of the law in this same process. And the available options at this step are the different conversations, the dialogues, and of course, the goal is to create favorable solutions. We have then the last pillar that would be to shape. How can we approach the reform of a system or of a law? You want to add or you want to withdraw certain aspects of the law, or you can also invoke the law. You can also go to the tribunal to present your requests. I would like also to add here, shaping doesn't mean how to write a law. When we work with paralegals, we approach the institutions in order to invoke the law, but very often these institutions are not, they need some testimonies. So very often we need a direct action, an administrative action. This process of the communities means looking for administrative solutions. For example, in Mozambique, we work with the community and we have used the law to advocate for a follow-up process that needed to be done in a local hospital. It's an example where the work with the community goes along with an administrative action. Then the legal empowerment, it needs to be sustainable and powerful. And I will give you examples that we use. I would like to share the strategy of a justice program, citizenship justice program. For example, a client comes and see me and he tells me that he doesn't have access to his ID card. And I can find for him other people that have the same problem, and we can share the way they actually what did they do to solve the problem. That's one strategy that we use a lot, which is sharing a problem. The second step would be we use a strategy where one person can help him to go and look for his ID card and do the different administrative steps with him. And the third step would be we could work with a client that has achieved actually to get his ID card, and his client accepts to become our kind of ambassador within the community and he accepts to do session of awareness. And we have used this strategy in the different steps of the legal empowerment. After a month, I would like to remind you the definition on community power. We have this sentence that we have used several times. A community that is empowered is a community that has the ability to recognize the problem they are facing. The important word is know. You holistically can recognize the problem when you know what the law says or doesn't say. And also the community is able to come together, organize themselves, mobilize themselves around the problem and raise their voices until action is taken. So they know what methods to use so that they can find a solution. And finally, the community must make sure that they manage to shape and provoke a systems change. They must ensure that once that action has been taken, they create systems and structures to ensure that they don't revert to the problem they had initially. We have ici the cycle for the legal empowerment cycle. With the knowledge of the law and use the law, we do that so that we achieve a solution. So we do an advocate work for structural changes, then a systemic change, and if we actually manage to do that, we can provoke a shaping of the law, which will bring positive new laws and policies to life. And the cycle then repeats itself. Then we can have a systemic change. There is one law, but also we need to make sure that the other laws fall into the same cycle. That's what I wanted to present to you, the cycle. It's a very simple way of looking at it, but it's quite schematic. It's a process that takes a lot of time, and we need to be in the pillar of the knowledge of law. For many people, it comes after many years, but it's a reality. It actually does happen. And if you are blocked at the court level, I will also share with you a guide that I've been using. I will put it in the chat. Thank you very much, and I will pass the floor to Morgan.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Right when Amy passed it to me,
good afternoon, Morgan.
Started to die. Hey everybody. I just wanted to add one thing to what Amy was just speaking to. That slide with the legal empowerment cycle, which also shows up in the video that we shared before this session, where Vivek Maru, who is the director of Namati, talks through why legal empowerment is so useful for building collective power, how those things go hand in hand. And he references that cycle. Hopefully you can still see the cycle on the screen. I can't see it. If not, Amy, can you make sure that it's on the one thing I wanted to add to what Amy said is that
Voilà.
there we go. Merci. but there's a big black bar over it again. So you see the cycle, you see that arrow that goes on top from casework to systemic change. I want to talk about what that arrow is for just a second, which is, how do we, on the left, we have casework. We have, as Amy said, how do we help people today? It might be help someone get their child into school. It might be help someone fight against discrimination. Might be help a community get their land cleared of pollution. Whatever our fight is, our material fight that we're helping a person or a community with, how do we do that in a way that sets us up to change the whole system, the whole underlying oppression? To me, that arrow is made up of a few things. It's that every case is a relationship that we build with someone seeking justice. Every case is data. It's a data point that tells us where an injustice is happening, how, why. Every case is a new chance to build trust with someone or with a community. Every case is a chance to introduce one person facing an injustice to other people who face that injustice, right? In other words, every case is a chance for us to build collective power if we do our work in an empowering way. That's why I love legal empowerment and why I think it's such a great tool for building community power. Because it lets us solve problems that are real problems today for people and communities. And it lets us do it in a way that builds our power. So now we're all together. We all know the law. We know why the law is the way it is. We know how to use it. We have confidence to speak up for our rights. And we know what's causing the injustice, so we can go attack that. We can go, what did we say last time? Each of us is an axe, cutting down those pillars that hold up the injustice. And each of us is a hammer, building new pillars underneath our community to build up their power. That's how I think it works. That's what makes up that arrow. It's trust, it's relationships, it's knowledge, it's data, it's experience, and it's togetherness. There's also an arrow from going the other way, from law to casework, to how we help people improve their material conditions. For a few people here, I know in my breakout group, it has come up where there is a law on the books that's pretty good, but in practice, it's not happening. That's one of the places where legal empowerment is really useful. And there's a colleague of ours here in the session, Lena Salan. I want to pass to him for a couple of minutes to show us an example of what that looks like. He works with a group called Impact in Kenya, in northern Kenya. In 2016, Kenya passed the Community Land Act, which is really cool. It says communities as a whole can own their land. They can have one title that they all share. So they make shared decisions about their land and resources. It doesn't split it up. So like, that's your house and your land, and that's your house and your land, and that's yours and that's yours. It's all of ours, which is also really important for a lot of communities in Kenya because they are pastoral. They roam with their animals, so their animals can eat and drink at various points of the year. It's a really revolutionary thing, but after a few years, no communities had their titles. None had been registered. And that's where Lenesalan comes in and his colleagues. They've worked with communities for the last few years to bring them together, to help them understand the law, to help them build trust amongst themselves, and to help them do everything they need to do to get their title. And now there's investors coming to Kenya who want to develop that land, who want big projects, who want to use it for various purposes, some good, some bad. And they're not able to come and just take the land. There's a community there who can negotiate with them and who can defend their land or use their land how they want. So I want to pass to Lanessa on a little bit to tell us how he's brought the communities together to be able to make those decisions and implement a law that is really great on paper, but in practice wasn't doing anything for anybody. So I'll pause there and ask Lanessa, are you there? Can you share with us for a couple minutes how you've done that in your work?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Hey.
Yeah, my name is Elena Salon Jones from Kenya, and I work for Impact Trust Kenya. So Impact Trust Kenya is a grassroots organization led by indigenous leaders, and it's based in Nanyuki, Laikipia County, Kenya. So Impact in Full is an indigenous movement for peace advancement and conflict transformation. So Impact envisions for a more just and inclusive society for the indigenous communities in Kenya. So basically we work in the pastoral communities of northern Kenya. That is 5 counties in Laikipia, Samburu, Isiolo, Marsabit, and some parts of Turkana counties. So the key thematic areas or our programs are human rights, lobby and advocacy, peace building and conflict transformation, livelihood and economic empowerment, community land protection, and that's a program I'm working in as a community paralegal. And now it has been changed to a land environment and climate justice program. So this program is supported with Namati. And there's another program is climate change adaptation and resilience, research and documentation. So in Kenya, before the year 2016, any land that is not privatized or gazetted as a public land will be held in trust by the county council or now the county governments in trust of the communities. So during this time, a lot of land has been lost. This is the time where now the community land has been lost. So there was a massive loss of land with arbitrary allocations by the county governments or the county councils during that time before the county governments. And a lot of lands has been given out without the community consent. Like now, example in my neighborhood is a Lake Turkana Wind Power project, which is I think less than 20 kilometers from my village, who was given back 2009 by the county council of Marsabit. So by then the communities had never knew about these transactions until around 2014 during the project inception, where now the communities are just seeing the project workers starting to do the work. So that raises a lot of concern. Who is the one responsible in land? But now the community is powerless because they don't know the law even. So, but with the help of a certain the former senator by that time of Marsabit County, so some community members who happen to be elites that did some litigation And now the land was, the court ruled in favor of the community, where the land was given back to the community, and the project title was cancelled. So until now, even the community are not owning that land. Even the case is since pending, and no actions. So only the court has cancelled the title, but the project still sold the land and no engagements, because you are told to go back to the community because you have used the wrong process. So until now, that case is there is nothing that was done. So the Community Land Act of 2016 is the law that currently used in unregistered community lands in Kenya, so that they can use the process that was guided by that law to do their land registration. So as a community land protection program, or rather land environment and climate justice program with impact, as community paralegals, like for example me, I'm based in my local village, where now we train communities about this law and offer them support they need. So we guide the community through the process, strengthening community land governance, like the capacity building of the community land protection, the community land management committees. Those are the committees that were elected to take charge of the land. And also promoting inclusive governance and sustainable practices. So there are a number of tasks in order to implement this law that is required for the community to do. But because the community are not able to do by themselves, so with the help of Impact, we help them do a series of requirements as required by the law. For example, drafting or adopting of bylaws. These are locally created rules used to govern the community land. Forming community assemblies. These are the owners of that land, so we create registers. Election of the community land management committees. So resolving land boundaries, conflicts, because sometimes the adjacent communities will have overlapping claims. So we support them by bringing them together so that they can resolve their conflicts. And also completing and submitting of paperwork. There are various, so many kind of paperwork that's being done with even fees. So it's a bit expensive process. But with support of Impact, some communities actually, as from now, some have got their title deeds and some are in the process of getting. So we are still supporting them to do follow-ups. Like now in my community, we have not yet got our title, but we are in the process. The community land management committees has been elected. And from there now we are supporting them to do follow-up until the process has been completed. So thank you very much. And that's what I can say from the works we are doing in this site. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Lena Salam. Amazing. I love that story. So, as he said, including in his community, communities were having their lands taken from them. They couldn't protect their lands. They couldn't use their natural resources. So the government made a law. Great, fixed. Nope. It turns out nobody knew about the law. The ministry wasn't ready to do anything about the law. It was just on paper. It wasn't going to change anything. So paralegal, that's where paralegals come in, and legal empowerment. Lenesalan's story is really cool. His own community is going through the process now. But that's what that other arrow back from systemic change to casework is. Great. There's a great law on the books. The system has changed, but only on paper. And it's because of like that arrow from systemic change to casework, that's the Nesalan. He is that arrow. Walking. So now his community has come together. They've selected people from among them to lead. They've written up some rules to guide it, including there are rules about inclusion, having women leaders, making sure women are accounted for in the registrations, minority tribesmen, people with disabilities, having that inclusion. And now communities are getting their land titles and they're able to protect their land. They're able to negotiate. They're empowered. They know their rights. I've been to similar meetings, not with Lenesala, not with Impact, but similar meetings of communities. It's really great to see how folks are talking about climate change. They're talking about what to do with drought. They're talking about who to talk to in government to protect their land. They're talking about what terms they want if they negotiate with a company who wants to build a road through their land. It's really, really great. So that, I hope, illustrates that legal empowerment cycle that Amy talked through, that we showed on the screen. Again, that's in that video that we shared before that I think is a good overview as well. That's really the heart of that connection between legal empowerment, paralegal work, and building community power. You can see it in action. So I'm gonna pause there. I'm gonna pass it to Esther because now I'm excited for us to break up and get to talk a little bit about what this looks like for each of us and how it works for us. So I'll pause and pass it to Esther.
Thank you so much, Morgan. Just like Morgan has said, we need to be hammers for community empowerment. And therefore, before we dive into our breakout session, I'd like to set the stage for what lies ahead. We all know that navigating legal systems can be daunting, and when wielded effectively, community power can be a powerful tool for catalyzing change. So in the breakout sessions, we would like you to explore two distinct journeys of leveraging legal empowerment to build community power. The choice is yours, and the first choice is you can give a success story. We would like to hear about a triumph where legal empowerment was instrumental in achieving a significant win for the community, the lessons from the process, the challenges faced, and the strategies employed to overcome these challenges. You also have an option to give a setback story, a failure story. Explore a setback encountered on the path to community empowerment through legal means. Discover how setbacks can serve as profound learning experiences, strengthening both individual and the community as a whole. So think about which narrative resonates with you, the success or the setback, and get ready to immerse yourself in a thought-provoking discussion. I therefore invite Sylvester to just give a brief about how you're going to join your groups. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. Amy, can you please put up the slide for me? So whilst Amy do that, prior to starting the session, we shared in the WhatsApp group a PowerPoint presentation that highlights how you are going to join your breakout rooms. So let me take it from here. So this is what happens when I launch the breakout rooms. When I launch the breakout rooms, a button will pop up. And what you need to do is that when I launch, you see these three dots here. So you click on it and then select join breakout rooms. Now, when you click on it, this is what comes. Your group names would appear when you click on it like this. Now you need to scroll down the participants and come to where your groups are. So if you are in group 5, you click on the join button that is close to group 5. And then once you click on that, you have this. You select yes, and then it will take you into your breakout rooms. So that is how we are going to join our breakout rooms. Scroll past the participants and then select your preferred breakout rooms and then join. So I would open the breakout rooms now, and then your group leaders have the questions. Sorry, group organizers, they have the questions. So they would also put the questions in the WhatsApp group so that you have access to the questions, and then you can begin the discussions from there. Enjoy your breakout discussions and share your experience and highlights. Thank you.
Thank you, Vesta. Thank you.
I see that there are a lot of people in the room. Kindly select your preferred breakout room as it has pop up and join. Yeah, in 15 seconds. Can you hear me?
Then we can, Lori.
Thank you. Very much, Amy, for that. I hope all of you had an amazing time in your breakout sessions. And so at this time, we are going to move forward with the program, with the rest of the event. Yes, and so moving on.
Glory, just hold on. You are talking a bit too fast. And there's brushing along your
and
microphone.
I think there is
so
an interference with your microphone.
Is this better?
Interference with your microphone, Glory. So
can you hear me
yes,
now?
much clearer. Please speak slower and then
Much clearer.
Yeah, no interference. Thank you.
Okay, great. Apologies for that. I hope you're all doing okay, and I hope that you had an amazing breakaway session. And so we'll move on to the next bit of this of the session today, and we'll begin with we'll just take the next couple of minutes, say 10 minutes, to get feedback from you, our paralegals, with regards to the discussions that you had in the breakout room. I will call upon two representatives, one Francophone and one Anglophone,
to ensure a diverse range of perspectives. And so I will call upon, if I may I call upon Faith Joshua to speak for the Anglophone group and share perhaps a success story or a not so successful story with regards to using legal empowerment to advance community power. And so I would also, and so just before Faith begins to speak, I would like to notify Ms. Fatoumata from Guinea. You'll speak on behalf of the Francophone countries. So Ms. Faith Joshua, if you're in the meeting, I'd call upon you to speak, please. You have the floor for the next 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glory. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Faith Joshua, and just to give a brief summary of what we had discussed during the session. So a lot of us from the session were able to speak about how we've been able to make use of laws to empower the communities, and we've been able to get some success stories. An example of that is in Bini, yes, where one of the team member were able to train paralegals, and then the paralegals then went ahead to train the community members on making use of laws to gain access to justice, and they were able to move them from a state of ignorance down to a state of knowledge, and they've been able to get their rights that were due them using those advocacy intervention. We also had a case where
I'm sorry, Faith, I think we might have lost you.
Oui, c'est ça le cas, mais je vois que l'on a de
Yes, we
illustrated
have
for them.
lost
I'm
Faith, I
using.
think. I think she's back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. You're back. Yeah. Please proceed.
All right, thanks. All right, so we also had a case where an organization was also able to carry out some interventions by training community members using a law, and with that law, they were also able to carry out advocacy and got access to portable waters. And a good success from that particular story was the fact that yes, they had an increased capacity, but also not just the capacity that was built and used at that moment, but the fact that they had continued. So it was also a continual process. Until date, they were still using the knowledge they learned to still carry out advocacy interventions. So this just a few of other stories that we had, and it were great success stories we got from the team. And it just shows us that our work as organizations, civil society organizations, and also our work has a great impact in terms of building the community power. And once this power has been built, collectively with our support and the joint support with the communities, we'll be able to have great impact and make the change that we desire to have in our various communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Faith. And at this juncture, I'd like to welcome Ms. Fatoumata from Guinea to speak. Ms. Fatoumata, you have the floor.
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hello?
Hello. Hello, yes.
Qui est-ce qui parle?
Moi, c'est Dani Mtendela de l'organisation Vision des filles leaders pour le développement des pays Ouvira, en RDC. Je vais commenter sur ce que nous avons discuté dans notre groupe Indisa. Il y avait d'abord l'intervention de M. Sadoupa de Natural Justice. Et il travaille sur la gouvernance des ressources naturelles depuis l'an 2020.
It works on the governance of natural resources. Is there a possibility that we can talk about what has been spoken in this group where I was in?
I'm sorry, could you please?
Right. So I will translate for you now, Ruth. Danny was saying that he was in a group where they talked about natural resources and whether there would be a possibility that he could give some feedback.
OK. J'ai dit, il travaille sur la gouvernance des ressources naturelles depuis l'an
So
2020.
we worked on natural resources since 2020, I think.
Il travaille sur l'autonomisation juridique.
It works also on the organization of the legal organization.
Il travaille,
And
pour y arriver, ils ont d'abord développé un document basé
developed a
sur
document
les connaissances traditionnelles
that was
et les
focusing
lois
on
en
traditional
vigueur.
knowledge.
Donc, les documents, c'était sous forme d'un
So
protocole.
the document was like a
Aujourd'hui,
protocol. Nowadays,
ils ont commencé à mettre en place ce
they
protocole,
started
mais
to actually implement this protocol.
les difficultés qu'ils ont, les
And the
autorités locales,
difficulties
les
that they
autorités
have
de l'État,
encountered is that the local authorities
certaines autorités de l'État n'acceptent pas ces
and
documents.
state authorities don't accept this document.
Mais aussi, dans les autres communautés dans
Also,
d'autres villages aussi
in other
n'arrivent pas à accepter ces
communities,
documents. Mais ils continuent à faire les plaidoyers pour que les autorités
it's
acceptent
not
et
being accessed, but
adhèrent
they
à
continue
ce
to do this
protocole.
advocacy
Aussi,
action
les autres
to make
communautés
sure
qui n'ont
that
pas
this
encore adhéré à ce
document can be
document puissent
accepted,
aussi y adhérer. Il y a
so
aussi
that they can
un cas de
it
Burkina
can be
Faso.
used. We have also a case in Burkina Faso.
Au Burkina Faso, il y a un
In Burkina
monsieur,
Faso,
j'ignore son nom, je pense qu'il peut même écrire son nom dans le chat.
I think it was written
Ils
in the
travaillent
chat.
sur,
They
au
work
départ, dans
at
leur
the
communauté, au départ,
beginning,
la communauté
they were working
considérait
in
comme
their own community
des répressions utilisées par, par les pouvoirs
on
judiciaires.
different actions that was used by the
Mais aussi, ils
legal
considéraient
power.
comme
And
justice comme un
nowadays,
outil de colonialisme.
it is actually considered to be
Comme un outil de colonialisme. Pendant
like a
cette période de crise,
colonization, a colonialism.
pendant cette période de crise, c'était vraiment difficile à
So
cause
it
de
was
cette,
really
cette
difficult to
considération de
progress
l'outil
because of the
judiciaire.
situation.
Mais ils ont
Nowadays,
essayé d'unir la communauté. Après avoir uni la communauté, ils ont fait comprendre à la communauté que
they
la
have
justice dans notre pays
managed to
n'est pas un
make
outil
the
de
community to
répression,
understand
mais
that they
aussi
needed to
n'est pas,
empower
mais aussi n'est pas un
themselves
outil de colonialisme.
and
Ils ont
refuse the
aussi,
colonialism.
après avoir uni la
And
communauté, ils ont
after
aussi contacté
helping the
le service
community,
judiciaire
they
pour
also
que la communauté
contacted
soit
with the
déjà
legal
soit en
power
contact
so that the
direct
community
avec
would be in
les outils
contact, direct
judiciaires.
contact with
Aujourd'hui,
the
ils ont
tools, the
déjà des
legal tools that
avancées
were
très
available.
significatives
So
à cause de ce qu'ils ont
nowadays
fait.
they have ambassadors, transport
Je sais pas.
tools that are
Il
prepared.
y a la dernière intervention,
The
c'est
last intervention
c'était pour le cas de foresterie communautaire. C'était
was
spécifiquement
for the
parce que nous
case
travaillons
of
avec les communautés
community forest. It was
pygmées. Avec
specifically
la communauté autochtone pygmée, les communautés autochtones pygmées sont les
with the
propriétaires des
community
terres
autochtone
au départ.
with
Maintenant,
the
avec le ministère
native
de
community, the
l'Environnement,
Pygmy,
il
and
envoie ses
the
agents sur
owners of
terrain.
the
Les agents
land
sur terrain signent des
were
protocoles d'accord,
pushed
signent des
to
contrats avec
actually
les entreprises
were pushed
qui viennent dans
out
le terrain
by
pour venir
the
exploiter
Ministry
les
of
minéraux,
Environment.
pour
So I
venir
send
exploiter les
these
bois, pour venir
albums
accueillir
with that
pour venir accueillir, je ne sais pas quoi, les
determine
braises.
the protocol
Avec ça,
whereby the
la
conduct of
communauté
certain
nous ont
companies
contactés
were
pour nous
forcing them
montrer
to
ces cas,
push out the
parce qu'ils
communities out
sont
of their
déjà dans la
land.
période de sécheresse, mais aussi dans
So
la
it
période de
was
déboisement,
it
qui cause
actually
des
pushed
problèmes
them
au niveau de la communauté.
towards land that
Nous
were
avons essayé de contacter les
affected by a
chefs de
lot of
famille, parce que nous travaillons essentiellement avec le pouvoir
scarceness of
coutumier.
water.
Nous avons essayé de contacter les chefs de
We
famille.
work
On a
essentially
uni,
with
après avoir
the
uni les chefs de
power
famille,
of
on
customary
avait tous analysé ensemble
chief,
cette
and we have
injustice.
analyzed the situation
Après avoir
together of this
analysé cette
injustice of these
injustice,
people
nous
being
sommes
kicked out
arrivés
of
à
their
créer
lands
le comité local de gestion
so that we could speak to
pour
the
nous
local
aider
committee of management
dans le processus
so that
d'élaboration
they could help us in the
des
process
plans
of
simples de gestion
elaboration
de ces forêts communautaires. Après avoir
for
créé
this
ce comité local de gestion qui
community
provenait
forest.
dans les
After this
différentes familles,
community,
communautés avec lesquelles nous travaillons, nous avons
spoken to
nous
different
avons fait
families,
une demande
communities
d'octroi
with
de
which
titres
we
fonciers
work. We
pour
have
ces forêts.
actually forwarded
Après
an
avoir
official
terminé à faire ces
demand,
titres fonciers, nous avons déposé ça au niveau du bureau des
and we
secteurs. Parce
have
que ici, selon la
actually
définition
presented
des
that
titres
on
fonciers,
the
groupement,
sectorial bureau
secteur, territoire et puis province. Le chef de
that
secteur a
controls
approuvé les documents. Après
the
avoir le chef de
territories and the
secteur
groupement
approuvé les
and the
documents,
province
on a
and the
déposé les documents au
sectors.
niveau du gouverneur. Le
We have
gouverneur a
actually
écrit
presented
des
the
arrêtés.
documents in front
Après
of the
avoir le gouverneur
government,
écrit des arrêtés, on a distribué
and
ces arrêtés
the governor was actually agreed
de
with
7 forêts
us
communautaires
and
que nous
stopped
accompagnons.
this.
Après avoir remis le titre foncier communautaire
After having actually obtained to have the land right
il y
by the
avait maintenant
community, for
la
the
confusion entre
community.
le pouvoir que détient la communauté locale
Would
et
be
le
good to
pouvoir
suggest
des
to
agents de
this
l'environnement sur terrain.
person to
On
speak
a
a little
essayé
slower because he's going very
de faire
rapidly
des
with a very strong
sensibilisations au
accent.
sein des agents de
Then we
l'environnement, mais
tried
aussi
to
au
have
sein des
we have
agents
certain
mais
complications.
aussi au sein de la communauté, ça n'a pas tenu. On a été obligé de créer, on a été obligé d'organiser un atelier. Dans cet atelier, on a invité une personne du ministère, une personne du gouvernorat.
A workshop,
on a invité tous
and we have
les agents
invited
de l'environnement
somebody from the
qui travaillent sur
government,
terrain, mais
and
aussi
we have managed to avoid the work agents.
Ces membres du comité local de gestion que nous avons mis sur place, le ministère le gouverneur, l'envoyé du gouverneur, leur a expliqué combien de fois les arrêtés qu'ils ont créés ont été fondés sur la loi foncière, le code minier,
He
le
needs to
code
go
forestier.
slower. It's very difficult to follow him.
Ça a
I'm
été
very sorry.
une grande solution de ce que nous avons fait. Merci beaucoup. Je crois que vous m'avez
Thank you
compris.
very much. I think I managed to mention everything. We understood more or less everything. Thank you very much, Danny, for the summary. It was really interesting. I will pass the word now to Amina. I will share.
Just a second. Désolé. Attends. Amina, c'est à toi.
Amina, the floor is yours.
So we've come to the end of the third session. We're practically almost through with this course, and I hope we have been learning a lot, learning more on how to build community power and the importance of legal empowerment as well. Without legal empowerment, it's difficult to build community power. And as we go away today, we need to reflect on the process of legal empowerment. Well, I know that one thing for sure is it's a process that can take time. For some, it's like was shared in my group today. He said they were able to build community power around an issue. It took 45 days. And yet, for others, it can take years. So it's not something that happens overnight. And we have to have patience on it. It also means that we need to make the communities that we work in know the law. Us ourselves need to know the law. And we need to reflect on that and think about the stories, the successes that we've had, and think about how we have been able to build community power, what challenges we've had. So let's have that reflection personally and within our organizations, and even with the communities that we work with. Let's have those kind of conversations. Let's also look at how we can share with our colleagues and others within other organizations, because the more we can get people other organizations and people understanding how to build community power, it will mean that we are able to fight the injustices. And so let's continue, and we have our WhatsApp groups. Let's continue to use our WhatsApp groups. It's a way for us to network with each other, learn from each other, our experiences, both the positive and the not so positive. And with that, I'd say, looking forward to the next session next week, and wishing everybody a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks, Amina. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Amina.
Bye, everyone.
Please don't go yet. Put
Bye,
on your
everyone.
camera. Let's take our group picture. Please don't go yet. Yes. So if you can, please put your camera on. Your best smile. So I'm going to do this in 3 successions. So 1, 2, 3. Great. I'm taking the second one. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The last one. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Hopefully we get the picture. We didn't get it last
Bye, everyone.